Hello, welcome to Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. And this week, I have been waiting for this interview. I'm super excited. Thank you, Claude Silver, for saying yes and joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
So I'm going to tell the people about you, and then we're just going to jump in and chat a little bit.
I'm game.
As VaynerMedia's first ever Chief Heart Officer, Claude Silver unlocks employees' full potential by forging human-to-human connections, creating cultures of belonging, empowers teams to be purpose-driven, efficient, and strong, and infuses the agency with empathy, humanity, and joy. She makes sure everyone embraces their uniqueness while working towards common goals. Claude's unique perspective on servant leadership and team building comes both from her training in positive psychology, participating in several outward-bound adventures, and her tenure and experience in leadership development, coaching, workplace culture, talent management, and people operations. Simply put, Claude's glass is always full. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's true. It really is. It's there's always something to be grateful for, and there's always something. For me, there's always a silver lining. You know, even in the darkest of days, there's always something that brings me hope, whether or not it's through spirituality or faith or just knowing that, you know what, feelings come and feelings go. There's nothing that sticks around that long. So
I love that. So you're the Chief Heart Officer. What does that mean?
Well, I take care of and look after every single employee. In other companies, you might call it like a chief people officer, chief culture officer, chief operations, basically anything and everything that has to do with employees and their experience. Is I'm honored to be able to take care of that, to be the shepherd of that, and really the cultivation and co-cultivation of the culture, globally. Yeah.
So you've been there for 6 years, is that correct?
Yeah, 6.5 years now. I can't believe it. Whoa. Yeah.
I know, isn't that crazy? So what have you seen that's changed over the last 6.5 years?
Well, one thing that we changed immediately when I came into this role was the way we hired. So we used to hire for culture fit, and culture fit looks like this. Oh my God, you're from the Southwest. I'm from the Southwest. That's so cool. Oh my God, you like Spanish food, Mexican food. Oh yeah, the hotter the better, you're hired. Or you like surfing. I like surfing. Cool, you're hired. That's what culture fit looks like. And culture fit is good up to an extent, I think, especially when you are starting off, because it gets you very similar minded people and it builds speed. So you can go really quick. But I immediately changed it to skill set fit and culture addition, because that started to diversify our floor. And when I'm talking about the obvious diversity of race, ethnicity, sexuality, religious, but also diversity of thinking, values. Someone that's going to come in and make us think wider and broader and think about things we normally wouldn't think about. So that's one thing that we changed pretty quickly. We've certainly changed the makeup, I would say, the landscape of the floor. And when I say the floor, I mean in all different offices. I mean, we've opened up a Singapore office. We've opened up a London office. These things happen while I've been there. And really the respect of each and every person and what they bring to the culture. I often think of a quilt. Like we each have our own patch of quilt, and today, yours is red and mine is gray and someone else is silk and someone else is satin. That's without that uniqueness, without your red and mine gray and that person's silk, we're not as rich as we possibly can be. So really the triple down on creating and co-creating this culture is tremendous. And really, making sure that everyone knows that their culture is their responsibility from the ground up, from the sides, every department. We're about to hire a chief diversity officer, which will be fantastic and really, really speaks to the need of our Black and brown population, our people of color, and really wanting to make sure that we are not only providing what we need to provide for those that community, but it's really outside of that community, making sure we're working with diversified vendors. We're an advertising agency. So we want to make sure that, we're looking at every single side before we put an ad out there. Those types of things. And, if you've noticed, everything I've talked about has to do with people.
Yes.
So everything, you name it. I mean, we've made so many different changes. And one of the things that I love about working there and working with my CEO, Gary Vaynerchuk, is that we change all the time and we're not afraid of it. And we're not afraid of speed. We kind of live almost by the 80-20 rule, which is, let's get it out there, let's get it up there, and then we can always tweak it. So I love that. We throw perfection out the window because there is no such thing as perfection, is there?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What made you so people centric and so heart centric? Like what leads that for you?
We're all born with different types of DNA, and mine has really always been of very much of a natural cheerleader, if you will, like a player coach. I am a, that a boy, that a girl type of person. I love getting my hands kind of in the mud with other people. And so that has grown my empathy, understanding what another person's experience is like, even though I may not have ever had it, is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. Riding shotgun with someone in their life and their experience. I think, the generosity of spirit is something that I grew up with. My parents are incredibly generous folks, and they've always wanted to expand my mind and my brother's mind. And then, of course, my Nana, who I speak quite a bit about, who was my best friend and really my person. She died about 3.5 years ago at 101. And
oh,
she
wow. I'm
was
so sorry, but that's a beautiful life.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful life. We
Yeah.
called each other Heart. So we just would call we'd pick up the phone. Hey, Heart, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good, Heart. How are you? That growing up with that type of person also that put people first is just, I had incredible role models. And I think it's also just the DNA that I was born with. And what drives me is, human behavior is something that I'm not afraid of. It actually is something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. But like in the advertising industry and in the company that you're with, like you just said, y'all are fast moving, you're go-getters. How do you balance that with making sure people are leading with their hearts?
Well, we spend an enormous amount of time with people. I mean, it's a very, very high touch company. So my job description for the last 6 years has been the same, which is touch every single employee and infuse the agency with empathy.
Yeah,
That's
I love
it.
that.
And so how do we do that? I spend so much time with people based on 15-minute meetings, half an hour meetings. I'm listening, literally just taking in what they have to say and figuring out ways that I can help them either remove roadblocks or connecting them to other people, wanting to set people up to thrive. So I spend so much time with people. Gary spends so much time with people. We've done a lot of leadership training to make sure that people really, really understand that we are committed to being a people first company.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can feel that when you walk in there. I'm sure the people can feel like you and the influence that you've had on the company.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, you can definitely feel a lot of electricity when you walk through the doors of any of our offices. Right now, you have to go the extra mile because we're all on screen. And so, you just have to lean in that much more to make sure you're connecting with people and really, taking that extra moment to ask people how they're doing in a time in our history that we've never, ever, ever, ever experienced.
Right.
So I'm going to mute for a second because it's getting loud. I can hear you. I'm just going to mute because of this lawnmower back there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I love that. I love that, you guys focus on people and making sure, not just focusing on people, but making sure they feel valued and that they feel heard as well.
Oh my gosh. It's they feel valued, they feel seen, they feel like they belong, because
Yeah.
that's really at the genesis of connecting. They feel safe, safety, belonging. Those are instrumental things that if you don't get that right, you won't have a healthy culture. You won't have people that stay. You won't have high retention. And we are able to do that because we devote ourselves to that, and because there's a role such as this, such
Yeah.
as mine, where that is my primary experience here, is to be with the people.
Yeah. I've researched you. Not in a stalkerish way, but I have. And you talk a lot about emotional optimism. What does that mean?
Yeah. The way I can sum up emotional optimism is silver lining. It's really the understanding that there is nothing that's easy in this life. And we embrace that. I think the moment you can accept that, life kind of gets a little bit easier, because we have to accept the fact that we are all dealt with different cards, and we find ways through that. So anyway, the emotional optimism is the emotional part is, yes, this is life. This is
Yeah.
hard right now. And the optimism part is like, and we will rise again. We will get up tomorrow. The sun will shine tomorrow. You can guarantee that it will become a bright sky. You will see cloud, you will see blue sky. So it's really, allowing yourself to understand and feel your feelings, but really know that tomorrow you're going to get back on the horse.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And I think, and that's what being hopeful is
Mm-hmm.
that, there's always tomorrow. There's always the next moment to be better and to do better.
That's right. And, the one thing I think that we either don't know, don't acknowledge, or we forget is that no feeling is final. Feelings come
Right.
and feelings go. But how you feel today, or how you feel during that breakup, or how you feel during COVID, or all of those things, while they're all very, very, very valid, they're not final.
Yeah.
It's what's happening
Right.
in this moment. And then the next moment brings you something brand new.
Yeah. And if you mess up in one moment, you have that very next moment to get it right.
That's absolutely right. And I think that is what forgiveness is all about. And so you need to be able to forgive yourself in order to forgive, your fellow sisters and brothers. And in a culture like Vayner's, VaynerMedia, where I work, we trust first. We give trust first. And so if you fail, that's okay. We're going to be there to catch you and get you back up on your feet. And that's the point. The point is creating cultures where people feel like they can fail. They're not going to get fired. And that they're going to have people that will hoist them back up and go out there again. That's what it's about. That's where I want to work, in a place like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you do.
Yeah, I do. And that's why I'm here. That's why I ain't going anywhere, because there's no point. Where else would I go?
Right. I
want to
love that.
I want to be treated the way we treat people.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. I love that. And I talk a lot with corporations about the idea of people being your most valued asset. Like, your people are your most valued asset, because without them, it doesn't work.
That's
so
right.
Your bottom line will soar if your people are invested, and if they really feel like, this is a company that I'll go to bat for.
Yeah, that's right. And so people, I think, to take that a step further, knowing that you're working for the logo, whatever that logo is, whether or not you work for Kraft, or you work for McDonald's, or you work for VaynerMedia, the logo comes first. And yeah. And someone said to me the other day, someone asked me a question about something about the brands, like your culture is your brand. And I said, yeah, I think it was Jeff Bezos that said, your brand is what people say when you leave the room. It's what people, when people talk about you, they're talking about your brand, whether or not that's a company or Claude Silver. And don't we want them to be talking about us in the best light possible? So we need to be walking that walk, or else there is no best light, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah,
mhm.
because they're going to say what they're going to say.
Yeah,
And so but it's how you represent the company, how you represent yourself. And without that investment and without being um, the champion for the company,
yeah.
then, like you just said, they're going to say other things that aren't in the best interest of that logo.
That's right. I just feel like, you said, human beings are the greatest asset to any company. That's absolutely right. And the reason that we use heart in many ways is because each and every one of us has a heart. It's the strongest muscle we have, strongest organ we have, I should say, in our body. And it is the central operating system. Without a heart, you cannot exist, right?
Right.
In a company, without humans, you cannot exist. I don't care how much AI you do. Humans built the AI.
Yeah.
So you gotta respect who you got. You gotta treat them right. And I guarantee you they will treat you right too. If you have that, like that mono to mono, that moment of truth where it's like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be there for you and you're gonna be there for me. These are the expectations we have. You come in, thank you very much. Can't wait to have you aboard, Louisa. Thank you. I'm going to give you growth opportunities, at bats, learning, development, friendships, even,
Yeah.
and you're going to give me your time and your
Yep.
energy and your brains and your
Yep.
heart. And that's the deal we make when when you start with us.
Because we belong to each other.
That's right. We belong.
Period. Yeah,
Period.
I give you, you give me the energy, and yeah, it's about that mutual respect, and it's about that willingness to give a leg up, to say that I'm here for you.
Yeah. Right. And you just said it so well. I mean, it's, human beings we are wired to connect with one another. We are wired to belong to one
Yeah,
another. Anyone that thinks differently should go live on Mars, because it's just the way it is. You can only be alone for so long. We're not
yeah,
meant we're
right.
not we're not meant to be in isolation. And by the way, when you go into you think about mental health, when people start to isolate and not bring people in because of their shame or their pain or whatever they're in, the more you isolate, actually, the more depressed you get.
Yeah,
So,
because the connection is huge.
yeah, that's it. It is. It gives
And
us oxytocin. It makes us feel good. Makes us feel something, right?
yeah, yeah, and it's all of that, and that goes with kindness too. My thing is I'm all about kindness, and people often think that is a form of weakness, but I believe that kindness is the biggest strength that you can have.
I completely agree with you. I think kindness, and I think, yeah, kindness, compassion, empathy, anything that has to do with how you are treating other people and how you're treating yourself. Are you treating yourself kindly? Are you being good to yourself? Are you being a good friend to yourself? And then, how are you doing that and paying that forward with others? That's
Yeah,
that's the ticket right there, because it doesn't just stop with me being good to myself. Me being good to myself is actually no good. It's really not that great if I'm not sharing that wealth.
right. Right. Because we're here to share our hearts and to share our knowledge with each other. It's
Yeah.
really that simple. We were born to love and we were born to connect and to share with each other.
That's right. We come into this world with nothing other than, what the heck am I doing here? And most of the time, and hopefully all of the time, we're surrounded with love. That's all
Yeah.
we know. Love, people are taking care of me. I'm safe. Okay. I'm getting fed when I need to get fed. It's the bottom of Maslow's pyramid, which is safety, shelter, and security. That's what
Hmm.
fundamentally all humans need. And then right above that is belonging. And that's what you and I are talking about, connecting, belonging. It is a fundamental human need.
Yep. And we all crave it, and we all devour it when we come in contact with
Yeah,
it.
totally. And it's our responsibility to be creating it. That's the deal.
All the time. Yes. Yes. All the time. Like you said earlier, the isolation, you can't keep it to yourself. We have to create more of the love and more of the compassion and more of the joy so that it comes back. And it's really cyclical. And the more that we give out, the more that comes back.
Yeah. I mean, kindness is like the best feeling in the world, right? It's when,
Yeah.
imagine, when someone gives you the attention of their kind heart, it makes you feel so good. And when you give someone attention, like it makes you feel good. There's nothing, especially if you're giving it freely without the feeling like, oh God, I got to spend time with this person. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like our hearts are meant to build bridges with one another, you know?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that. And I totally agree. And if you're doing something with the expectation of getting something in return, then that's not necessarily kindness. That's just wanting something.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's kind of like greed,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this for you, but I expect.
Yeah. Yeah, then you're not, to your point, you're not really giving anything, are you? You know?
Right. Yeah, you're not giving anything at all.
Yeah.
You're just ready to receive whatever that thing that you're wanting back.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part of it. And I think just promoting kindness and promoting empathy and compassion, not only in the workplace but in your own life, in your own heart, within your own family, is so necessary, especially now, especially during the times that we're in now.
Oh my gosh. You and I have never lived through this before. We've never lived through a global
Right.
pandemic. We've never lived through such a racial uprising and awareness. We've never lived through the fact that the majority of people are working behind a screen now with dogs
Yeah.
barking, lawnmowers mowing, kids coming behind us in the kitchen. Like we've just never been here. So now is the time not only to better yourself, now is the time, but now is the time to also understand that those bridges, those lifelines need to be handed out. This is the
Yeah.
time in which people are hurting, people are isolating, people are anxious, mental health, those types of concerns are on the rise. And so for those of us that happen to have an extra reservoir of
Mhm.
kindness to go around, of love to go around, it is our responsibility as human beings to cast out that fishing line and reel someone in with goodness, with love, with kindness, and don't worry about it coming back to you. Of course it's going to come back to you. That's just the natural law of karma. But who
Yeah.
cares about that? Just do it.
Exactly, because it's about putting those ripples out. And your legacy, you may never see it, because you never know what you may have said to someone, or a smile or whatever, what kind of impact that you've had on their life, that they have gone out and done the same for someone else. And I talk a lot about, changing the world. And people often think that I talk about, all 7 billion of us, being kinder, which I hope will happen. But changing the world, in my view, is really, one person at a time. If you impact one person, then they will go out and impact another person, and then it keeps going. So you never know where your ripples will land, really.
Yeah, and I love that. I absolutely love that. And a lot of times people ask me like what my legacy is or what I want, how I want to be remembered. And really, the only thing I have to say is like I want to be remembered as someone that had a generous heart. Period.
I love
And
that.
the rest will happen after I am long gone. But if someone could say, yeah, I talked to her once and she made me feel better, then I'm gonna go into the afterlife as a real happy fairy.
Oh, I love that so much. And you just gave me tingles, because that's so true. Because that's how you want to leave the world, or I would hope that's how people would want to leave the world, is just being remembered for having a generous heart, and being
Yeah,
remembered for caring, and just being a good person who offered goodness to the world.
yeah, totally. You know what? I think that I imagine most people feel that way because it's real
Yeah,
simple. It's real simple.
it is. It is.
Yeah, it's
we
it's
just
real
have
simple. Yeah,
we just have
yeah,
to own it,
yeah.
and be okay Be okay with it, and be
Yeah.
okay with being kind, and be okay with sharing good things in the world, because negativity and chaos and confusion is always going to be there.
Right.
It's
Well, and it's
just,
loud, by the way. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
it is very loud. And so we just need to amplify kindness, and we need to amplify our voices for good, because there is more good in the world than not.
Oh,
But
1000%.
yeah, but because that negativity shouts so loudly, the kindness gets drowned out, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's what you're all about. Make kind loud. And let's make it louder. And then let's make it louder. And let's make it
Yeah.
louder. Down with that.
So you have a little baby. How is she?
She's amazing. She's 23 months. So she's almost 2. We're definitely
Yeah.
entering into that 2 stage. But she's really the best thing ever. I mean, talk about an opportunity for me to really show kindness in motion, with
Yeah.
her, obviously, in what I do every single day and the people I work with. And I can see that happening, but, watching this little, thing come to life because of, something I did, I don't know. It's just the best, just the
Yeah.
way it's just going in and like, when I come into a room and I just like, go out like this and I want to hug her and she just like beams or also tells me no. I don't know. They're just kids are the best. Kids, I really feel so incredibly blessed that this is what's happened in my life right now. I really, I could have easily passed this. I could have easily missed this part of my life. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad it was literally meant to be.
I love that. I love that. And kids are just beautiful beings, right? Because they are, before they get tainted by the world, they're just pure love. They just invite you to the core of them, right?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to just watch them, be curious about what's happening around them, and just want to be loved and just to give love. And I hope that we get to a point where the babies don't lose that as they grow up, because then you have to find it again, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I think that's up to us as parents and as nurturers and inspirational people towards our kids and towards other children, to continue to show them the benefits of being kind and the benefits of being optimistic and the benefits. And really the
Yeah.
benefits are, you feel good. You feel good when you are giving to another person. You feel
Yeah.
good when you see another person light up. You feel good.
Yeah. You really do.
Yeah. So I think we can. I am committed, and I know you're committed too, to creating this, this revolution here. And it's just the more of us that we can find, the greater the snowball effect.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, we're out there. We're out
Yeah,
there
yeah.
doing it. It's just, we just need to amp it up even more. So
Yeah.
what has your daughter taught you about yourself?
Well, she has taught me about prioritization, quite frankly.
Yeah.
She's taught me about patience. She's taught me that if I ever thought I was tired before, I now know a different level of exhaustion, but I also know I can get through things. She's taught me that no matter what the face I want to present to her, especially at this age in her life, is one of goodness and kindness. And, it's not that I want to protect her from other emotions. She's too young right now. So,
Yeah.
I put everything behind me. If I'm having a, bad moment or a bad day or whatever, I put that behind me because I want her to see this heart when she walks through the door. I absolutely want her to see, like, I am here for her, and she lights me up and I want to light her up. And so this entire heart is for her.
Oh, that's beautiful. And one of the most beautiful things that people can offer another person is that when you see them, you light up.
Yeah. Totally.
And that just brings not only joy to yourself, but joy to them, because that is like, oh, you see me, and
Right.
you recognize me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's beautiful, and I love that so much.
Thank you. Me too. She's the best. Do you have kids?
I don't, but I have 24 nieces and nephews.
24. Oh my gosh, you've got your hands full.
I do, yeah. So I have like 11 nieces and nephews, and then 13 great nieces and nephews. So my nieces and nephews are all old.
Yeah, and they all have
older.
kids. Yeah.
They all have kids, and
Oh,
so it's that
great.
next generation now. It's
Love it.
beautiful. So they range from 37 down to 2.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. Because I got a 2-year-old. Oh, I love it. Before we had her, I have 2 nieces and they're the love of my life. And just,
Yes.
watching them grow, they're teenagers now, but like, oh, I just want to, I just want to love on them. And now they're teenagers. And so they might not want me to love on them all that much, but I love on my daughter as much as I can.
I love that. How old are the teenagers?
14 and 16.
14 and 16. Yeah.
Yeah. They're smack dab.
Those are fun ages though.
Yeah.
And like, just to learn from them too, because I have twin nephews who are 15, and they are hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it. Oh, it's so funny. I mean, my the 16-year-old has a boyfriend now. I mean, it's just like, it's so cool, and you kind of remember what your life was like back then, which is kind of one of the fun things I think about being around kids and teenagers. They're like, oh yeah, that's what I did too, or I was a brat like that, or oh yeah, I remember my first love, or all those things. That's so great.
Yeah, and it is, and it's beautiful watching it and watching how they navigate through the world, and the choices that they make, because they're just little humans from the 2-year-olds up to the teenagers. They're just humans, and they're just trying to figure out the world for themselves and how it makes sense for them.
1000%. They are trying to figure out who they are in this world. Yeah. And that's a lifetime. That takes a lifetime. But watching it, I remember the struggles I had even as a teenager, trying to figure it out in my late adolescence. And, then one day you pop up and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get how I am. Oh, this is how I think. This is how Claude thinks about things. And then I started to get like, oh yeah, I accept that about myself. Oh yeah, I like how I like that I can always count on myself to enter a situation like this, or to address a problem like this. You get that consistency because you've done enough reps with yourself. You start to trust yourself.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. And you trust yourself because you get to know who you are. And like we said, Claude thinks this way. This is how I show up in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful watching the young people figure that part out.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. It's a good life. Very blessed.
Yeah, it is. So as we wrap this up, I could talk to you forever, and I do really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
What is, one piece of advice you can give people about living a emotional optimist life, or a heart-centered life?
I think the one thing I can say is get to know yourself. And I think that's what we've just been talking about. Get to know who you are, what makes you tick, why you think certain things. If you want to change something about yourself, make the changes. So understand who you are as a human and your behavior. And then you can take the reins in your life. No one else takes the reins for you. People will think that they can take the reins, but only you can take the reins. So get to know yourself, get to know what makes you tick, and then find out who you want to be in this world and go for it. Lead with your heart.
Yeah.
The heart will not lie. Our head gets us into trouble. All those negative thoughts we have, all that replay we do in our head about like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. That's not true. This is true. This is the only thing that counts. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Great to meet you.
You too. This has been another episode of Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. And Claude just left us with a mic drop moment. She said, you and only you can take the reins of your life. So take them and get out there and be who you are meant to be. And we will see you again next week on another episode of Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. Bye.